So the clock on the wall says 3:30, so I'm going to call our meeting to order. And I have a motion from someone, please, to approve the agenda as written. Betty Ann, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Sure.
I can't see you, HP, but okay. All righty. And are there any declarations of conflict of interest from council? Seeing none and not seeing HP, I'm assuming that there are none. And could I have a motion to adopt the minutes from our previous budget meeting? And Jennifer, seconded by Betty Ann, all in favor? And that's carried.
Yes.
Thank you. And there is no business arising from the previous meeting, and there's no public presentations other than from our treasurer. Prior to the treasurer making her presentation, I would ask that everyone refrain from asking questions until the end of her presentation. At that point, I'd like to give the floor to each and every member of council, and you will have your opportunity to ensure that your voice has been heard as it's relating to this budget going forward. Okay, so I will now turn the floor over to our treasurer, Sue Dent, and you should have the presentation in front of you.
Thank you, Mayor Hagman. I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, no, maybe I'm not. Okay.
Pam's gonna share your screen, I think.
Pam's going to share my screen.
She's gonna give you permission to share your screen.
Okay.
Try again.
That's better. Okay, so I know you've all seen this all before, but just we're going to go through our budget policy that council passed back in August. This is our second budget committee meeting, and this is the point where the committee is to provide direction to staff as to what they want to see going into the 2021 budget. So a lot of what you are seeing here, you've seen before. These are areas that we have identified as high priority, but we need council's direction. Does the committee want to spend money on facilities in 2021 budget? And if so, what's the priority? Which buildings should we be focusing on first? We certainly have our ideas of which buildings we should be focusing on, but we need council's input to that. You've seen this information before. This was the high-level condition assessment review that our engineers provided for us. The initial small estimate for a few buildings was $895,000. We have since received from them a more detailed list with all of the facilities. You can see that they're recommending that in 2020, excuse me, they had identified $1.133 million worth of work with an additional $83,500 in 2021 and $6,900 in 2022. Obviously, that's not realistic, but we need to know where we should be focusing. Is it the arena? Is it town hall? Is it the golf course? What is it that should our focus be on for 2021 with our limited dollars that we have available? You've seen all these numbers before. They're just here to help facilitate the discussion and give us some direction of where we want to start the conversation. Our roads plan. Do we want to maintain our 73 PCI index on our paved roads? That's going to require $1.4 million in 2021. That is probably not realistic. All else being equal, that's a 25% tax rate increase, and I don't think anybody wants to see those kinds of numbers. But where does council want us to be in 2021? 2020, we spent $300,000 on paved roads. Do we want to maintain that level? Do we want to increase that level? What is council's direction or the committee's direction for what we want to be spending on paved roads in 2021. Do we want to maintain our sidewalk plan? We're currently spending $50,000 a year for capital sidewalks. That will meet this plan, but is that where we want to continue to focus, is on maintaining our sidewalk 5-year capital plan? And is there any of the council vision items that were identified that committee wants us to try and integrate into our 2021 budget? Do we want an economic development officer? Do we want to spend money at the travel center? If we are going to open the travel center, do we need direction how we're going to staff that facility? And again, just these considerations that we need to keep in everybody's front of mind. We don't have the tax base to support all of the initiatives. If water and wastewater are a priority, then we need to start looking at our water and sewer rates and ensuring that those are sufficient to cover not just our operating, but our future capital costs for water and wastewater. As we increase our infrastructure, what is that going to cost us in the long run? And some of that will come out of our asset management plan as we start to look at levels of service and the financial plan that comes out of that. How do we maintain our current infrastructure and assets, and how do we continue to keep everything up to date? That was very fast, but you've seen all that information before. Like I said, it's really just to start to stimulate the discussion for the committee members to start to give us some direction as to where we want to go with the 2021 budget. Are we spending money on facilities? Are we spending money on roads? Are we looking at a 0% tax rate increase for 2021? Or are we going to maintain the momentum that we've built up and increase our tax rate by the same as we did in 2020, which was 3.8%. Those are the kinds of directions that we need as staff in order to be able to put some viable options into a 2020 proposed budget to present to council at another meeting. That meeting was set to be December 3rd. You can see from this slide, we are proposing an extra committee meeting for November 10th. I was hoping to be able to present the draft user fees charges for 2021 at this meeting. We did not get all the information we needed in time to be able to do that. The proposal would be to present that at the November 10th meeting, as well as get some final information to allow us to present to the public meeting on the 19th what our direction and focus is going to be for 2021. That is all that I have for today.
Thank you, Sue, for that. And so essentially, council, the ball is in council's court to help Sue and help staff understand what the priorities are. And so what I'm going to do is I'll start it off so that you can have a sense of where we need to be going. But also I want to hear from each and every one of you so that we can ensure that we're getting all of our comments brought forward, and then at the end of the day, we'll be asking Sue if we've given her enough to go forward. So looking at that presentation and knowing what the situation is with our facilities, my priority is the town hall. There's a number of issues that are taking place with the town hall right now. You know, we are working on making it look better, but we've got issues at the town. We've got asbestos, we've got insulation problems, we've got water leaking in the front door, and we've got a lot of people that work in this facility as well as our council. So my priority is the people that work in the facilities. I'd also like to see public works in the fire hall fixed. I think it's important. Again, those are housing our staff, and we want to ensure that we're bringing those up to standards. My next priority would be waste and water. We know that when we did our delegation at Roma in January, that they wouldn't even look at us until we start showing some due diligence and improving what we're doing. So I think we have to increase our water rates. I know the public doesn't like that. My next priority would be the arena. Again, another facility that a lot of users have. The courthouse is very important to be looking at, as well as the museum arena area because we have people there. I'd like to continue with our roads at the 2020 rate. If we can maintain a level of 72, that would be good. And I'd also like to maintain our sidewalks at the rate that we had this year. Also, I think it's important for us to look at an IT position. I'm hoping that this could be something that could be shared with Elliott Lake. And if that could happen, I know we probably drive Pam crazy with all the IT things. And as we become more computer in need of computer excellence with our software packages, it's important that we have that support. IT is not Pam's job, and I think it's important that we get a part-time person to work there. So in terms of the tax rate, I think we should stay the course. 3 to 3.8% is something that I'm thinking of. I'm recognizing that I know this is a hard year for people, but I've also seen people buying boats and motors and everything else. And so I think that if we're going to get this town back on its feet again, then we need to be recognizing an increase in both water and taxation. So that's my spiel, and I'm going to turn it over to Paula now. And Paula, please give us your priorities.
Wow, that was quite a mouthful there, Sally.
No, just
so along with you, I agree. I think we have to look at the town hall. We know that we are not going to be in a position to be doing anything with a building for the town hall in the near future. So rather than let it go right down into the tubes, we need to start doing something there to make it safer for the people that are working there. So that would be a priority. And then of course, Public Works and the Fire Hall, those are two places that also house employees and require some work. So that would, I think those would be the top three for me at this point. As far as looking at the rest of the facilities, some of it I'm kind of hoping that maybe we could push some of it off into the next year. Maybe where the museum is, I believe there's some windows and stuff that need to be looked at. That might be something that is a little bit, that might have to be looked at this year. I would really like to see the use of the travel center somehow. If we're going to be wanting tourism in our town, I think we need to be ready and have something there. I would really like to see somebody in there, and perhaps like the suggestion that was made there, having like a wave 2 place to sell our goods and that sort of thing, and have somebody there to greet the people when they're coming in. They're coming because there is things there that they require. The dump for the trailers, the RV dump. Now that we have the water there, I know there is work that needs to be done there as well. That's something that we had approved, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. Probably if we'd stayed the course, we would be done with that 3-year plan that we had. And then I think we need to see where we're at the end of this year as far as what we're going to have in reserves, because my understanding is that we actually will have a fair bit of money in the pot from this year's taxes because of COVID, and there was a lot of things that didn't get done. So perhaps we could look at what we have there, and then we could decide where we wanted to put that money, whether it be roads, sidewalks, having that extra to bump it up. Because I think setting it at the rates that they've got it seems to be on the high side to me. And I would like to see an increase in taxes no more than 2.5. I know that the water has to go up as well. I think that in this time of there are a lot of pressures, and I realize there are a lot of people that were doing all kinds of things, but there's still a lot of people out there that are living pay to pay, and every increase is a tough one for them. So I would like to try and limit it to 2.5% at this point. I think that's where I'm at this point in time. I think given a little bit more information, maybe we could narrow it down a little bit more, but I'll pass it on to the next person. Betty Ann, I believe.
Yes, Betty Ann. Thank you, Paula.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be as eloquent as the two of before me, but I agree. Town Hall needs to be looked after because the hub is not something that we're going to be able to work on in the next couple of years. So we need to keep up the Town Hall. The Fire Hall as well, that before that deteriorates any further, it needs to be looked after. I too would like to see something done with the visitor center. I think that with there's going to be much more highway traffic because of COVID. We have much more local tourism, regional tourism, and provincial movement on the highways. We need some way to stop them and get them to spend time in our town. Yes, so I think the ideas that they had for the tourist center, having things in there for them to sell, having, like Paula said, we have the services there. It's the ideal spot to promote our town. So yes, I'd like to see, I think it needs to be one of our priorities. And I think I'm just pulling numbers or pulling things off the top of my head. If I don't really know the numbers that we're working with, like I don't know what our budget is and how far it can stretch. So it's kind of difficult for me to make decisions. Like, I like numbers. I like working with numbers and not just ideas. So yeah, so that's mine. Town Hall, the Fire Hall, and the Tourist Information Center, my top three.
Okay, any comment on roads or sidewalks?
I think if we can maintain what we've been doing, even if we can increase it a small amount, I would be good with that. And as far as the tax increase, like Paula, I wouldn't want to see it go above 2.5. But, I'm comfortable with what we're doing, and even, adding some to it without going the whole thing that they're talking about here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Betty Ann.
Okay.
Jim?
Thank you. You talked about the roads and the sidewalks to stay at the level that we're at right now. Now, last year, we didn't get the grants and the fundings. This question here, before I go on with my list for Sue, is that, is this all pertaining to whether or not we get grants and funding, or are we actually just spending taxpayers' money on the paved roads and sidewalks?
Through you, Madam Mayor. That will depend. At this point, we're not aware of any grants that are available for roads and sidewalks. Certainly, if something becomes available, we absolutely will be applying for grants. But at this point, we would be either looking at spending reserve dollars or taxpayer dollars.
Reserves or taxpayers. So is that including the Huron Street project also?
I'm not sure which project you're referring to, Jim.
I think we were going to tear up the streets and redo the sewer and the water line down to Woodward from Cosley Street into Woodward. I believe we were turned down last year on that project, so we couldn't begin it. But I think we've started something there, whether it was planning or whatever. That came from Mark Bender. You remember that?
So through you, Madam Mayor, to answer Councillor Dunbar's question, those roads would all be identified in the roads plan that Mr. Bender has put together. Right now, we're looking for the costs that you would like to allocate in the budget for us to work on that plan. So we're not looking at dwindling it down to which roads we're going to do. We're looking for an overall number that council is comfortable with us spending. And then those roads are identified within the plan.
All right, well, then that makes my job a little easier. Then I would continue with the, I guess, our 2020 budget we had on roads and sidewalks for 2021. Maybe if there is some funding or extra money coming forward on that, I'd like to see some more sidewalks done here in the town also. A priority for one of the facilities is obviously the town hall. We're stuck with it there in that area. So I believe we had a report 4 years ago on that town hall on the necessary improvements that could be done there. And I believe there was 2 prices. But anyway, it's just moving forward on the town hall. I'm in agreement of the town hall. The arena, obviously, again, we use that area quite a bit with our residents and their children. The arena looks good too. The courthouse, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to leave that one alone for now. Big one for me, though, is going to be the water and wastewater. I mean, if this town's going to move forward anywhere, especially with the BR&E, business retention and expansion, we're going to have to look at this wastewater and water deal that we're looking at, a new source for water. With that being said, I'm not saying establishing and doing that immediately. We need to obviously take our steps, do our steps. And that would be setting aside some money for a complete engineering plans on the actual water source. I want to see a set of plans so that we're basically ready to go when need be. I don't know if this is going to be $50,000. I don't know if it's going to be $100,000, but we need the plans to be established. That is a big concern of mine. I wouldn't like to be able to tell the taxpayers that we had to turn down a motel development of some sort because of the lack of water or wastewater problems that we have in this town. So I'd like to see some money set aside for the actual engineering work where we get an actual price on what this is going to cost and how and where this is going to be developed. So we need to look at that. The TIC, or you call it the visitor center, I don't know how we established people there before, I mean, running it, but I'm sure that's not the biggest concern right now at the moment. I think we could probably staff it with some students for the summer. I would like to see some money thrown at the Tourist Information Center, obviously, to bring it up to some sort of the development standards that we talked about and agreed about previously. And I would like to see the tax on the water. Obviously, we're going to have to be watching that, but I wouldn't mind increase on the water and wastewater taxes. But I personally wouldn't want to see a tax of more than 2%. I'm going to be even lower than the rest of you. I've heard 3.5s, 2.5s. I would like to see a 2% increase on taxes. Yeah, I think that's about all I had for highlighted on the facilities and the taxes and sidewalks and roads. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And I apologize to council. I've been calling you by your first names and I should be calling you Counselor. So my apologies. Going forward, Counselor Roy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize for not being able to see me. I'm on my old computer and I'm pretty sure that where I'm having issues. If I move the screen a little bit, it might come on, but anyways, we'll keep on going here. I like of course, our town hall to be taken care of. I'll have to tell you straight out from the start, the tourism isn't a high priority for me this year because of COVID especially. I'm not inviting anybody into this town. I've already made that clear. So that building, not that I want to see it go to pot. We should do some maintenance, but that isn't going to be one that's high on my priority list. The arena, of course, you know, that's it's a focal hub for our community. We definitely need to put money into that. The fire hall is far too new to let go to pot. So that's got to be done as well. Our courthouse, we need a courthouse in this town. And if we keep letting it deteriorate, we're not going to have the court services in Blind River. And that's going to be an issue. So I think that it's a smaller one. It's only like 50 grand or so, right? If I'm looking at this properly. I think that's one that we should be looking at. Obviously, public works, you know, road maintenance. Let's keep it to a current level. And when I say that, I mean where we are now, not the 300,000 that we spent. We got to bump it so that we can keep our streets in at least the condition we have. As Mark Bender had given us the information before. The marina building, if we can get by with a patch until we see where we're at the end of 2021. Councillor Dunbar did say that there may be some money left over from some projects this year. He's probably right. You know, the marina to me isn't going to be a huge, it's not going to be high on my priority list, let's say. The seniors building, I think we should maybe take a look at getting rid of that one facility. And so that would be one less, you know, tax burden on the taxpayers. Other than that, you know, water and sewer, as Councillor Dunbar said, you know, we do need some type of a plan if we're ever going to get a new water service. And let's take a look at that. So all that said, I really don't want to see an increase. Of course, nobody wants to see an increase. I like Councillor Summers' idea of the 2.5. I know it doesn't give us a lot of money in our coffers, but as she said, every time that you increase taxes, somebody gets hurt by this. Somebody has to, you know, especially I'm thinking, you know, people on pensions and so on, they're going to lose their way of life. They're going to have to decrease, you know, the way of living. So I have to think about them as well. So 2.5, I think, is as high as I would comfortably want to go. So I think I said a mouthful. I don't speak this much normally, but anyways, that's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Pastorero.
I forgot. I thought Stephen was ahead of me, but all right.
He sent his regrets today.
I'm so used to going after him. All right. So kind of reflecting what everybody else has said as well for roads and sidewalks, spending status quo for the priorities. Again, anywhere that we have employees that are working, the health and safety is paramount. So more needs-based than want-based spending. So town hall, public works, I definitely agree with HP that the courthouse is a necessity. So not only is it an eyesore, but it doesn't look like it's the healthiest of buildings for employees to work in. And definitely the water, the wastewater and water sourcing. Like Councillor Dunbar had stated, like if we want development to come here and hopefully a boom of people moving to Blind River, we need to have a proper water source to meet those demands of the influx of population, as we're optimistically hoping for. As far as the travel center goes, it's a beautiful building that shouldn't be wasted. However, I see that building more as a revenue neutral building, having people either renting it or the purchasing of the building, with us having a more digital visitor center for travelers that are coming through. The washrooms obviously is a necessity for travelers, but I know it's been mentioned before. Do we really want people detracted from the downtown core and businesses where they could also go to the washroom? But I do know that travelers with big trailers, that's a very convenient location. So if we are going to open the travel center, I would hope that it would be revenue neutral, that, you know, whatever we're spending to improve it is being met by revenue coming in by rental fees. The one thing though that I don't see on here, and I'm sorry if I'm blind, is the landfill. Our landfill is in desperate need of spending. I was there the other day and you couldn't even use the dumping area. It's collapsing and there's flooding issues. So I don't know if that's something that should be on here or if that's in a different area. So I think our landfill also needs some funding. But basically, it feels like we're on an episode of Love It or List It, right? What do you want me to give you to stay, right? And then they always give them a budget of like $30,000, but the work is like $150,000. So I think as long as we stay on focusing our funding on things that are absolutely necessary versus our desires, we're unfortunately going to have to put off that, you know, jacuzzi tub and open concept living for another day. So basically all the infrastructure that's necessary, that's where our funding should go, into the water.
And in terms of a tax increase, Councillor Posterero?
Tax increase, again, I feel like I'm on Love It or List It. I want our taxes low, but we know we have to spend a lot of money. So definitely below 3%.
Oh, great, thank you. And
Madam Mayor?
yeah, I was just, prior to giving you the floor, Councillor Dunbar, I'm just going to ask Ms. Scott if there's anything that she requires from council before we go forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Sue, for putting this together for us, and Council giving us a lot of direction. We're hearing a lot of information that we can now take back, gather the numbers that need to be put in front of Council. So at the next budget meeting, you can take a look at numbers and where that's going to sit. And having an idea of where the tax increase is comfortable with Council does greatly assist us as well. That's all I have for now, other than with regard to the landfill, we are aware of the issues that are there, and I believe Mr. Bender has that in his budget, and we are looking at some upgrades there.
Great, thank you for that. Councillor Dunbar.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just I just want to reinforce that water alternative source. And I forgot to mention, we were given a report that if we are able to find a new source of water, there are savings. Like, I've looked at all the list of everybody's priorities here, but in this one, there are savings of hundreds of thousands of dollars to this town and municipality by finding an alternative source of water. I just had to establish that to my point, Madam Mayor.
And back to our CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to carry on with Councillor Dunbar's request, that is definitely a high priority for staff, and we already are working with SEMA Engineering to look at the new water source. So you will see a budget request for future projects. So that will be a set aside amount that we will be requesting from council so that we can continue this process with that engineering firm to not only look at the water source, but also the increased capacity at the sewage treatment plant. So both of those projects are high on our list, and we already have them in the works with the engineer.
Great, thank you for that. To our treasurer, do you need anything more from council at this time?
Sorry, excuse me. Through Madam Mayor, no, I don't believe so. We've got some good direction, at least to start with. We will, as was mentioned, come back in at the next meeting with some numbers of what some of these things might look like. I guess the only thing we would need from this committee is a resolution to approve the additional budget committee meeting on November the 10th at 3:30.
And can I have a motion from council on that? Moved by Councillor B. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Summers. We have a meeting on the 10th of November at 3:30. All in favor? And that's carried.
Yes.
Thank you so, thank you so much. I'm seeing your ceiling, I think, Councillor Roy. Not sure what it is. Councillor Summers.
I just wanted to just make one comment about the courthouse, because I did miss that in my list as well. And as Councillor Roy said, the dollars there are actually fairly small to do the work that's required there. And I agree with him. I agree as well that we do need the courthouse here. And as well, it's kind of part and parcel of that corner where the town hall is and everything. So we could kind of like make it all nice.
And back to our treasurer.
So I just wanted to reiterate, I know in the report that we got from Tulloch, it had everything in 2020 and a little bit in 21 and a little bit in 22. Once we have the actual complete list of what all of those individual projects are that make up that total, we will be trying to prioritize those, and you will see those spread out over our 5-year capital forecast. So we know we can't do it all in 1 year. We know we have to pick and choose, but at this point, we don't have that exact breakdown. All we have are the numbers. So that's why they're still there. But once we have the actual breakdown, we will identify each specific project and when it makes most sense to do that over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, and Councillor J. Dunbar, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Sue, the municipal reserves here that's on the agenda, is this first of all, is this the complete list of all our reserves? And I know we're not at the end of the year. If there is budgetary money that's left over, does this money, will it go into some of these reserves, or do we have a separate reserve for money that isn't spent?
So through you, Madam Mayor, no, the list there for reserves is only those related to facilities. We were talking specifically about what money was available for facilities. We do have a large number of reserves, and we can present that as part of the next budget committee meeting.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a list of the complete reserves.
Yep, and also we do have a reserve fund policy and a surplus and deficit policy. So the surplus and deficit policy actually specifies what amounts of our annual surplus gets allocated to which reserves. So we can recirculate that as part of the next budget committee meeting as well, so you know which reserves have the priority for any surplus that we may have in 2020.
Thank you very much, Sue, for addressing that for me.
And does council have any other questions? Seeing none, we have no correspondence or addendums to this agenda, so may I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Postrero,
I'll
seconded
second that.
by Councillor J. Dunbar. Oh, sorry, and Councillor Roy.
Right.
Whatever, Jay Dunbar can do it, that's fine.
No.
There you go. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you, Sue Dent, for all your hard work and keeping us on track. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Right.